Emma had always been curious about the locked attic in her grandmother's house. Every summer when she visited, she would stare at the old wooden door at the top of the creaking staircase. Her grandmother never spoke about it, and Emma wasn't allowed to go near. One stormy evening, while the rain rattled against the windows and her grandmother was asleep in the living room, Emma heard a faint sound from upstairs. It wasn't the wind. It was something else, something like a giggle. Her curiosity overcame her fear. She tiptoed up the stairs, the old boards groaning beneath her feet. The attic door, usually locked, was slightly ajar. The draft carried a strange, sweet smell, like old perfume mixed with mold. Emma pushed the door open. Inside, the attic was cluttered with boxes, broken furniture, and stacks of yellowed newspapers. A single light bulb hung from the ceiling, swaying as if disturbed by unseen hands. In the center of the room sat a small rocking chair, and on it, a doll. The doll was unlike any Emma had ever seen. Its porcelain skin was cracked, and its glass eyes glistened unnaturally in the dim light. It wore a faded blue dress, its lace collar yellow with age. What unsettled Emma most was its smile, painted too wide, too knowing. "Who put you here?" Emma whispered, half to herself. The rocking chair creaked forward, then back, though she hadn't touched it. Emma froze. Her heart pounded. She stepped back, her foot crunching on broken glass. The doll's head snapped toward her, its glassy eyes locking onto hers. Emma screamed and bolted down the stairs, slamming the attic door shut. Her grandmother woke and scolded her for making noise, but when Emma tried to explain, her grandmother's face grew pale. "You didn't touch the doll, did you?" her grandmother asked urgently. Emma shook her head. "No, I just looked at it." Her grandmother closed her eyes in relief. "That doll belonged to your Aunt Lily. She died when she was 12. The doll, it hasn't been the same since." Emma wanted to ask more, but the look in her grandmother's eyes silenced her. That night, Emma dreamed of the doll. In her dream, it stood beside her bed, whispering words she couldn't understand. When she woke, the attic door at the end of the hallway was wide open. The next day, Emma tried to avoid the attic, but strange things kept happening. Objects moved from where she had left them. Doors creaked open on their own, and every night she heard soft footsteps above her room. On the third night, Emma woke to the sound of the rocking chair upstairs. It was steady, rhythmic, as though someone, or something, was waiting. She couldn't take it anymore. Grabbing a flashlight, she climbed the stairs once more. The attic door was already ajar. She pushed it open, shining her light into the darkness. The doll was no longer on the rocking chair. Emma swung the flashlight beam across the room. At first, she saw nothing. Then the light caught movement, a small figure standing in the corner, half hidden in shadow. The doll. But it wasn't sitting anymore. It was standing. Emma's breath caught in her throat. The doll tilted its head, and in a voice that was not a child's, not human at all, it spoke. "Do you want to play with me?" Emma dropped the flashlight. It rolled across the floor, the beam spinning wildly. She stumbled back, nearly falling down the stairs. The doll's porcelain face glinted in the darting light, its cracked smile stretching wider. "Don't leave me again," it hissed. Emma ran, slamming the attic door and pushing a chair under the handle. She didn't sleep that night, too afraid of what she might see if she closed her eyes. The next morning, Emma begged her grandmother to get rid of the doll, but her grandmother only shook her head. "It cannot be thrown away. I've tried. It always comes back." Emma didn't believe her until she saw the truth herself. That afternoon, she stuffed the doll in a garbage bag and ran outside to the dumpster at the edge of the yard. She hurled it inside and slammed the lid shut. That night, when she returned to her bedroom, the doll was sitting neatly on her pillow. Emma's screams brought her grandmother running. Her grandmother picked up the doll, her hands trembling. "I warned you," she whispered. "Lily's spirit, it clings to this thing." Emma looked closer at the doll's cracked porcelain face, and for the first time, she saw it. Behind the glassy eyes, there was something alive, something watching. That night, Emma didn't dare sleep in her room. She stayed downstairs with her grandmother, but sometime after midnight, the rocking chair creaked again. This time, it wasn't coming from the attic. It was coming from the living room. Emma turned her head slowly, every nerve in her body screaming to run. There, in the corner of the room, sat the doll, rocking back and forth in her grandmother's chair. Its head tilted, its eyes gleamed, and it whispered in a soft, sing-song voice, "You can't leave me, Emma. You're mine now." The storm outside raged louder, rattling the windows. But inside, all Emma could hear was the creak of the rocking chair and the doll's laughter echoing in the dark. Everyone in town knew about the house on Ashwood Lane. It stood at the end of the street, its windows shattered like broken eyes, its roof sagging under years of rain and neglect. The locals whispered stories about it, how a family once lived there and vanished overnight, how people heard screams from the upstairs bedroom, how shadows moved behind curtains even though no one lived inside. For most, the stories were enough to stay away. But for Daniel, Claire, and Marcus, it was a challenge. They were college students home for summer break, hungry for thrills. On a warm Saturday evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they decided to sneak inside. "It's just a house," Marcus said, grinning as he swung a flashlight. "What's the worst that could happen?" Claire wasn't so sure. She tugged at her jacket nervously. "People say no one makes it past midnight in there." "That's just a story," Daniel said. "We'll be fine. In and out. Take some pictures. Maybe prove it's not haunted." The three of them pushed open the rusted gate. The yard was overgrown with weeds, and the air smelled faintly of rot. The front door hung crookedly on its hinges. With a deep breath, Daniel shoved it open. Inside, the air was heavy, stale with dust and mold. Their flashlights illuminated peeling wallpaper, broken furniture, and stains on the floor that looked too dark to be just water damage. "This place is disgusting," Claire muttered. "Perfect for ghost stories," Marcus replied, snapping a photo with his phone. The flash lit up the hallway for a moment, and in that instant, Claire swore she saw a figure standing at the far end. A tall, pale shadow, gone before she could blink. "Did you see?" she started, but Daniel cut her off. "Don't freak yourself out. Let's check upstairs." The staircase groaned under their weight. Each step seemed to sink deeper than it should, as though the house wanted to swallow them whole. On the second floor, they found a hallway lined with doors. Most were shut tight, but one was ajar. From inside came a faint creaking sound, like a rocking chair moving slowly back and forth. "There shouldn't be anyone here," Daniel whispered. Marcus, trying to hide his nerves, pushed the door open. The room inside was a child's bedroom. Faded wallpaper of balloons and animals clung to the walls, and in the center sat an old wooden rocking chair. It moved gently, forward and back, though no one sat in it. Claire's breath hitched. "Let's get out. Now." But before they could leave, the door slammed shut behind them. Their flashlights flickered. The temperature dropped so quickly that they could see their breath in the air. Then came the laughter. High-pitched, childlike, echoing from every corner of the room. The rocking chair stopped. The flashlight in Daniel's hand flickered again, and in the brief burst of light, he saw something in the corner. A small figure crouching, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. When the beam steadied, the corner was empty. Claire was shaking. "Please, Daniel, open the door!" He yanked at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Something unseen was holding it shut. Then the voices began, soft whispers at first, building into a chorus. Dozens of voices, speaking in words none of them understood, swirling around them like a storm. Marcus dropped his phone, and the screen lit up as it hit the floor. In its glow, they saw footprints appear in the dust, small, barefoot, walking slowly toward them. "Back up," Daniel shouted. But there was nowhere to go. The rocking chair suddenly snapped forward, slamming against the wall with such force that it splintered. Claire screamed. In the reflection of the broken mirror on the dresser, they saw something the room itself did not show. 3 pale children, their eyes hollow, standing behind them. When they turned, nothing was there. Finally, with a desperate shove, Daniel forced the door open. They bolted down the hallway, the whispers following close behind. The house shook, the walls groaning as if alive. They didn't stop running until they burst out the front door and into the night air. Gasping, trembling, they didn't speak until they reached the safety of the street. "Never again," Claire whispered, tears streaking her face. Marcus nodded, his usual grin gone. He reached into his pocket for his phone, hoping at least to show the photos as proof of what they'd seen. But when he turned it on, his expression drained of color. The photos were there, hundreds of them. Not just the few he had taken, but dozens more. Each one was of the 3 of them in the house, from angles none of them could have taken. The last photo made Claire drop the phone in horror. It showed the 3 of them standing in the upstairs bedroom. Only this time, behind them, the mirror wasn't broken. And in its reflection, they weren't alone. A tall, faceless figure loomed over their shoulders, its hands resting gently on each of their heads, as though it had been watching them the entire time. It was past midnight when Lena left her friend's house. She lived only a mile away, down a quiet country road lined with trees. She had walked it many times before, but tonight felt different. The air was still, the night unusually silent. No insects buzzed, no wind rustled the leaves. Only the crunch of her footsteps on the gravel filled the darkness. Halfway down the road, she realized she hadn't seen a single car, or even the faint glow of a house light. The stretch ahead looked endless, swallowed in shadows. She told herself not to panic, pulling her jacket tighter. Then she heard it. Another set of footsteps. At first, she thought it was just an echo of her own. She stopped walking. The sound stopped too. She forced a nervous laugh and shook her head. But when she started again, the footsteps started too, just a fraction behind hers, mimicking her pace. Her heart began to pound. She glanced over her shoulder. The road was empty. No one was there. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling. Silence. She quickened her pace. The footsteps behind her grew faster too. Panic surged. She broke into a run, her breath ragged, gravel scattering under her shoes. The footsteps chased her, closer now, louder, as though someone invisible was right on her heels. "Stop!" she screamed, tears welling in her eyes. Suddenly the sound vanished. She stumbled to a halt, chest heaving, her ears ringing in the silence. She dared to look back. The road stretched behind her, empty as before. No one. Nothing. But when she turned forward, her blood turned to ice. A man was standing in the middle of the road, no more than 10 feet away. She hadn't heard him approach. He was tall, his face lost in shadow, his body unnaturally still. Lena staggered back. Who are you?" The man tilted his head. Slowly, impossibly, his body began to bend backward, joints cracking, until his face was staring at her upside down. His mouth stretched into a grin far too wide. Lena screamed and ran off the road into the trees. Branches tore at her clothes, roots tripped her feet, but she didn't stop until she burst out into a clearing. Ahead, she saw lights, the safety of her own home. She collapsed on the porch, sobbing, fumbling for her keys. When she finally dared to look back, the road behind her was empty again. But faintly from the tree line she heard it. Footsteps. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Would you dare to walk that lonely road at midnight? Tell me in the comments what you would do if you heard footsteps behind you. More terrifying stories are coming soon. Stay tuned if you're brave enough.